Most drivers think fuel injectors can only be cleaned by tearing the engine apart. That is wrong. In Japan, mechanics use a simple fuel-based method that cleans injectors while you drive, restoring power, smoothing idle, and cutting fuel consumption at the same time. No tools, no disassembly, no expensive services. In this video, I will show you exactly how it works, why it is so effective, and how doing it wrong can actually make things worse. On March 8, 2023, in a small industrial garage just outside Osaka, I watched something that completely rewired how I think about fuel systems. The shop was quiet in that uniquely Japanese way. No shouting, no rushing, just the soft hum of engines and the click of tools placed back exactly where they belonged. A taxi with over 420,000 kilometers on the odometer rolled in. No misfires, no hesitation, smooth idle, strong pull. I remember staring at the dash, convinced it had to be wrong. Back home, that kind of mileage usually means clogged injectors, rough starts, expensive cleanings. But here it ran like it had half the miles. And the reason was not luck. It was a simple fuel habit almost no one outside Japan uses. The driver stepped out, bowed politely, and mentioned fuel economy was down slightly. Not bad, just slightly. In most countries, that would trigger injector replacement, ultrasonic cleaning, or a $300 fuel service. Instead, the mechanic smiled, nodded, and reached for a single bottle on the shelf. No scan tool, no injector rail removal, no drama, just fuel and patience. That moment stuck with me. Because in Japan, especially with high-mileage fleets like taxis, delivery vans, and company cars, injectors are not treated as parts that eventually clog. They are treated as components that must be constantly protected. Not cleaned once they fail, but kept clean all the time. And they do it while driving. Back home, most drivers don't think about injectors until something goes wrong. Rough idle, poor miles per gallon. Hesitation, then they panic. They buy random additives. They pay shops to hook up machines. They pull injectors only after damage is already done. But the Japanese approach flips that logic completely. They assume fuel injectors will clog if you don't actively prevent it, and they build prevention into normal driving. Here is why that matters. Modern fuel injectors are incredibly precise. The nozzle holes are microscopic, smaller than a human hair. They are designed to spray fuel as a fine mist, not a stream. That mist is what allows clean, efficient combustion. But every time you shut off a hot engine, a tiny amount of fuel remains on the injector tip. That fuel cooks. The lighter elements evaporate. What is left behind is varnish, a sticky amber residue that slowly builds layer by layer. You do not feel it immediately. The car still runs. The ECU compensates. Miles per gallon drops quietly. Power fades slowly. Carbon starts forming in places it should not. By the time a driver notices, the injectors are not dirty, they are compromised. In Japan, they do not wait for that point. Instead of treating injector cleaning as a repair, they treat it like brushing your teeth. Small, consistent action. No drama, no disassembly, no expensive machines, just chemistry used correctly. This is a consistent routine. What shocked me most was not that the method worked, it was how boringly effective it was. No miracle claims, no instant 50 horsepower, just engines that stayed clean inside for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Taxi engines that still passed emissions. Cold starts that stayed smooth. Fuel economy that barely degraded with age. And the wild part? This method does not require special fuel stations, rare additives, or insider connections. You can do it in any modern car. Gasoline or diesel, naturally aspirated or turbo, direct injection or port injection. The knowledge is old, the execution is simple, but almost nobody outside Japan does it correctly. Most drivers think injector cleaners are snake oil because they use them wrong chemistry, wrong timing, wrong frequency. Japanese mechanics do not guess. They follow one specific principle: clean the injectors before deposits harden, not after they have turned into stone. That taxi in Osaka did not have clean injectors because it was lucky. It had clean injectors because the driver followed a quiet routine every month, something so simple it almost feels insulting that we do not do it elsewhere. And once you understand this trick, you will never look at fuel additives or injector problems the same way again. Because this is not about fixing a problem. It is about making sure the problem never exists in the first place. In the next part, I will break down exactly what this Japanese fuel trick is, why it works when most additives fail, and how to use it without wasting money or harming your engine. Stay with me, because this one habit can quietly add years to your engine while you are doing nothing more than driving. Most drivers assume that fuel injectors either work or fail. They imagine a dramatic moment where the engine starts misfiring, a warning light flashes, and a mechanic delivers bad news. But injector problems do not work like that. They fade, slowly, quietly. And by the time most people notice anything is wrong, they have already been wasting fuel and losing power for tens of thousands of miles. Inside every injector are microscopic openings, smaller than a human hair, designed to turn liquid gasoline into a fine mist. That mist is everything. It is what allows fuel to mix evenly with air, burn completely, and produce smooth, efficient power. But gasoline is not clean. Even high-quality fuel leaves residue behind. When the engine shuts off, hot fuel sits at the injector tip and literally cooks. The volatile parts evaporate, leaving behind a sticky varnish. Over time, that varnish hardens. The spray pattern degrades. Instead of a mist, the injector begins to dribble. This is where most engines quietly lose their edge. The engine control unit tries to compensate. It sees incomplete combustion through oxygen sensor feedback, and it responds the only way it knows how, by adding more fuel. Throttle response dulls. Miles per gallon drops. Carbon builds up on valves and pistons. Cold starts become rougher, yet the car still runs fine, so the driver keeps going. Months turn into years, and the injectors get worse. In Japan, this problem is treated very differently. Japanese fleet operators, taxis, delivery vans, and high-mileage commuters do not wait for injectors to fail or pay for expensive off-car cleanings unless absolutely necessary. Instead, they focus on something far more subtle, keeping injectors clean before they ever get dirty enough to cause symptoms. The philosophy is not repair. It is prevention through chemistry. The trick revolves around fuel detergency, specifically polyetheramine, known as PEA. This is not a marketing buzzword. It is a proven chemical that survives combustion temperatures and actively breaks down hard carbon and varnish deposits inside injectors, on intake valves, and even in combustion chambers. Most cheap fuel additives do not contain enough of it, or any at all. Japanese engineers figured out long ago that concentration, consistency, and timing matter far more than flashy claims. Here is the key difference. They do not wait until the engine feels bad. The Japanese method is to run a high PEA cleaner at controlled intervals while driving normally, not as a last resort fix. When done this way, the detergent slowly dissolves deposits layer by layer, restoring injector spray patterns without shocking the system. No aggressive flushing, no disassembly, no risk to seals or pumps. Just chemistry doing its job gradually, the way the engine prefers. What makes this so effective is how injectors respond to slow cleaning. A sudden blast from a machine can dislodge chunks of debris that end up clogging filters or sticking valves. But gentle, sustained exposure to PEA allows deposits to soften, break down, and burn off harmlessly. That is why this method works while you drive. Japanese maintenance schedules often include injector cleaning as a routine item every 5,000 to 10,000 kilometers, especially on direct injection engines. Not because something is wrong, they understand that once spray patterns degrade, efficiency never fully recovers unless you intervene. This is one reason Japanese high-mileage engines often feel tight and responsive even after years of daily use. Another overlooked factor is fuel quality consistency. Japanese drivers tend to stick with the same fuel stations and octane grades, reducing variable contamination. Combined with regular detergent dosing, injectors stay remarkably clean. It's not magic, it's discipline. And the results show up everywhere. Better throttle response, stable idle, lower fuel trims, cleaner oil, reduced carbon buildup downstream, engines that feel lighter, freer, more eager to rev. Many drivers report fuel economy improvements of 5 to 10% simply from restoring proper spray patterns, numbers that compound dramatically over time. What is fascinating is how rarely this is explained outside Japan. In many Western markets, injector cleaning is treated as an upsell or a fix for a problem that already exists. The idea that you can clean injectors continuously, gently, and preventively while driving is almost never discussed. Yet, it is one of the simplest ways to protect modern fuel systems, especially with today's ethanol blends and direct injection designs. But here is the part most people miss. Not all cleaners work, and not all timing is safe. Using the wrong additive, at the wrong concentration, or at the wrong interval can do nothing, or worse, cause drivability issues. The Japanese method is precise. It's boring, and that's why it works. No miracles, just consistency. Now that you understand why injectors degrade, why aggressive cleaning can backfire, and why the Japanese approach focuses on slow, continuous restoration, there is only one question left. How exactly do you do it the right way, with the right product, at the right time, without risking your engine? That is where everything comes together, and that is what you will learn next. The real power of this Japanese fuel trick is not just that it cleans injectors, it is what happens after the injectors are clean. This is the part most people never connect. And it is why drivers think the improvement is in their head until they look at the numbers. When injectors return to a proper spray pattern, the engine's entire combustion process stabilizes. The ECU stops compensating. Fuel trims relax. Ignition timing advances back toward optimal. Exhaust temperatures normalize. Even the catalytic converter stops working overtime. In other words, the engine stops fighting itself. That is why people report the same strange feeling after doing this correctly. The car feels lighter. Throttle response sharpens without becoming aggressive. The engine revs more freely. Idle smooths out in a way that feels almost unnatural for a high-mileage vehicle. Most importantly, fuel economy creeps back to where it used to be, sometimes within one tank, sometimes over 2 or 3 tanks. I have seen this repeatedly with cars that owners were convinced were just old. A 2012 Corolla with 180,000 miles went from struggling to hit 26 miles per gallon back to a consistent 32 miles per gallon. A Mazda CX-5 stopped hesitating on cold starts after one treatment cycle. A Subaru finally pulled cleanly above 3,000 revolutions per minute, again after years of feeling flat. No parts replaced, no injectors removed, no shop visit, just chemistry applied correctly. That is the key difference between this Japanese method and the way most people approach injector cleaning. It is not about dumping a bottle in once and hoping for a miracle. It is about using the right detergent at the right concentration over multiple controlled heat cycles. Japanese fleet maintenance schedules treat injector cleanliness as ongoing hygiene, not emergency surgery. That mindset alone changes everything. This is also why this trick works so well on modern direct injection engines. GDI engines are incredibly sensitive to injector condition because they operate at extreme pressures with microscopic spray holes. Even minor deposits throw off atomization. When those deposits soften and dissolve gradually, instead of being blasted aggressively, the injector internals stay intact, seals stay healthy, and spray patterns recover instead of failing. But there is an important rule that separates success from disappointment, and it is one most people ignore. You cannot stack additives, you cannot mix brands, you cannot double-dose thinking more is better. That is how injectors get damaged and seals swell. Japanese technicians follow the dose religiously. 1 treatment per tank, 1 brand, 1 cycle. Then drive normally, no shortcuts. Once injectors are clean, maintenance becomes simple. 1 bottle every 5,000 to 7,000 miles is enough to keep them that way. That is it. No yearly professional cleanings, no $200 services, no chasing rough idle with new parts. But injectors do not exist in isolation. Clean injectors expose weaknesses elsewhere, and that is actually a good thing. Once fuel delivery stabilizes, other issues become obvious. A dirty throttle body shows itself. A weak ignition coil becomes noticeable. A lazy oxygen sensor finally reveals its age. This is why some people say they cleaned their injectors, and now they notice other issues. The injectors did not cause the problem. They were masking it. Clean fuel delivery removes the noise and reveals the truth. And here is the part that most drivers never realize. Clean injectors protect your engine long-term. Poor atomization washes cylinder walls with raw fuel. That fuel strips oil from the rings, accelerates wear, and contaminates the crankcase. Over time, that is how perfectly maintained engines still lose compression early. Fixing injectors is not just about miles per gallon. It is about preserving the mechanical heart of the engine. This is why Japanese high-mileage vehicles age differently. They do not wait for failure. They maintain precision. They treat combustion like a system, not a mystery. If your car has over 60,000 miles and you have never cleaned the injectors properly, this trick alone can restore performance you did not even realize you lost. And if your car has over 120,000 miles, this might be the difference between it feeling tired and feeling trustworthy again. But remember this, fuel tricks only work when you respect the process. Use quality fuel. Fix vacuum leaks. Keep the air filter clean. Maintain oil change intervals. Injectors are only as good as the environment they operate in. Do this once, do it correctly, and your engine will reward you every time you press the gas. If you want your engine to run smoother, stronger, and cheaper, hit subscribe because the next hidden fuel trick might save you thousands.